What's up, guys? Hopefully the glare does not disturb you, but, this is a, video that, I've made. There have been a total of 15 WWE video games, not including mobile games, that have been released, and also not including, WWE SmackDown vs. Raw Online. That also does not count. PC games, mobile games, smartphone games, they don't count. Only video games for the PS3, PS2, PS1, pretty much those, and Xbox 360. If the games for that came out on the PS whatever and the Xbox whatever also went out on the PS whatever and whatever else, then they still count, as long as they were released for a Xbox or PlayStation video game console, not portable. So, I've gotten down the best 7 SmackDown versus, or not SmackDown versus Raw only, but WWE video games released. And, let me just say, this is not based on fact, this is in my opinion. So they may not be the best games to you, but in my mind, I think these are the best games that WWE has released. So if, you don't like one of my choices, or if you don't like my choices, then you can go ahead and tell me. Leave it in the comments below. Also, let me just quickly tell you about this contest that I'm doing. It's called Topic Choice Plus something. Whatever. I'll put it in the description box below. What you have to do is 4 things. You have to subscribe to this channel. You have to like this video. You have to comment on this video saying, I subscribed. If you comment anything else, make sure the words I subscribed are on a separate comment. And 4, you have to answer this question. What pay-per-view did The Shield make their debut at? Not their wrestling debut, but their actual debut in the WWE main roster. Answer that question right, and do all the others, and I will put down your name, and I will put in a random draw. Just because you answer the question correctly does not necessarily mean that you will win the contest. The winner will be chosen at random, so let me just tell you that. You can use Google, because I know you probably will, if you don't know the answer. But the winner will be able to choose one topic that I will talk about within the month that the winner is announced. At the end of September, so October 1st, I will announce the winner, and they will be able to choose the topic after I comment on their comment saying I subscribed. Then I will comment on their comment saying, you can choose the topic. Go ahead. So, yeah. So, without further ado, since there are 15 games and there are not an even amount of games, I'm listing down the 7 best and the 7 worst games, in my opinion. SmackDown vs. Raw dominated, the SmackDown vs. Raw series dominated with 4 choices. The SmackDown series had two series, and the WWE series had 1. So, not necessarily saying that these games are amazing, but they're probably, in my opinion, they're the best games that WWE has released to date. The 7 that I come out with in my 7 of the worst games that the WWE has released will come out at a later date. So without further ado, let's start the list. Number 7, SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain. Let me just go back up here. SmackDown Here Comes the Pain was released in 2003 for the PlayStation 2. It was also known in Japan as Exciting Pro Wrestling 5. It was released on October 27, 2003 in North America. And it was really good. It was, back then the graphics couldn't have really been great, but it proved pretty worthy of their, of one of the best spots on my list, because of, the moveset that they had, the detail that they went into in the video game really caught my eye, and when I played the game for the first time, I really enjoyed it. So, SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, the top two, or the starter of this list at number 7. Number 6, SmackDown vs. Raw 2008. Really great game. The graphics weren't all that good, but it did bring in some new mini games, some new I don't know how to say it. It brought in some new mini games, some new detail, and it was really interesting. I liked their soundtrack. I liked the fact that they had that that chain lock submission mini game. I liked General Manager mode. That was the final game that had General Manager mode in it. In SmackDown 2008, I believe, through whatever previous games there were, the Creator Wrestler was not that great, but it did serve its purpose, and the story mode was good. The exhibition mode was awesome. I believe that was 09 was the first game that released the Inferno match. But either way, SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 was a great video game, and in my opinion, worthy of a best spot on my list. Number 5, SmackDown vs. Raw 2006. The very first SmackDown vs. Raw video game coming after the original SmackDown vs. Raw game. It featured new things like General Manager mode, a new season mode. It featured new wrestlers. It featured It featured this new interlock grapple thing. When you start off the match, it has a button prompt that you would start out with, like a grapple or like a punch or something like that. And it had a lot of mini games. It had its flaws, but it had a lot of great points as well. The characters looked pretty smooth in my opinion. They could have done better, yeah, but it was the first game that actually featured some pretty good graphics in my opinion. So, without further ado, that introduces number 5 on our list. Number 4, WWE SmackDown Shut Your Mouth. The game, directly before the Here Comes the Pain game, was released in 2002 for the PlayStation 2, released in North America on October 31st, 2002. I just like the game's unique perspective of wrestling. I don't know if you know what that means, but in my opinion, it was deserving of the 4th spot because its roster was jam-packed. Its crowd was, went into detail. I don't know how to explain it. It was a very good game for a game that was made in 2002, and a very good game in terms of games on the PlayStation 2. So, not much else to say about that, but let me just go on. Number 3, WWE 12. That was the only game in the WWE franchise. This game was released in North America on November 22nd, 2011 for the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and Wii. It was the first video game released under the WWE name. Also, the second to last video game in the WWE that was published by THQ before getting bought by 2K Sports. It was a really cool. Game. I liked the graphics, how it changed from SmackDown vs. Raw 2011, and spoiler alert, SmackDown vs. Raw 2011 will be on my worst games, on my 7 worst games that WWE has put out, and I think you may know why, but WWE 12 really had a bounce back from SmackDown vs. Raw 2011, for a first WWE brand game, under the first WWE name. The first game under the WWE name. It served its purpose. I liked the choice of Randy Orton on the cover. I liked the graphics. Those were really smooth. I liked the way that they executed the moves. It wasn't, glitchy or anything like that. The RKO was hit perfectly. The attitude adjustment was hit very well. The tables, new breaking the tables, type of graphics. It would split in one piece or it would split in a bunch of pieces or whatever. Really cool. I like their new ladder match mini game. A flawless game. Well, not flawless, but it had some flaws. But very good game in my perspective. Very deserving, mostly because of its graphics. But moving on, number 2, SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. This game was released in 2006 for PlayStation 2, PlayStation Portable, and Xbox 360, released in North America on November 14th, 2006. The game was awesome. First video game for the WWE that I had ever gotten. The reason that I got all the other games before that was because I ended up getting a PS2. I ended up getting an original PlayStation. I got an original Xbox thinking that the games were on those two consoles as well, but I guess it was only on the PlayStation 2, I believe, or the Xbox 360. So when I went to go get the other games, I think it was one maybe for PS1, whatever. When I went to go get all the other games, you know, there were some that stood out, some that didn't, some that stood out for a bad reason, some that stood out for a good reason. But this game stood out in a good reason as, you know, its graphics really updated from a game that was made from its previous whatever. In SmackDown vs. Raw 2006, SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 had a very big bounce back. Had an improved general manager mode, an improved season mode. I liked the choice of when you had the SmackDown or Raw, you know, you won the world title on SmackDown, you ended up going to Raw. You know, you went to Raw, you won the WWE title on Raw, and you went to SmackDown. I liked how they bounced, you know, in between. You know, you chose Raw, you would have a storyline with RVD. Also, the last game to feature RVD as a playable character already unlocked. You went to SmackDown, you had Chris Benoit and The Undertaker, and you ended up in that rivalry. It was an awesome game. I really enjoyed it, so without that. And without further ado, number one on my list, and very deserving in my perspective to be number one, SmackDown vs. Raw 2010. What else to say about this game? And it's not because it was the very last game to feature Jeff Hardy, but it was because, you know, it introduced things like, of course, new mini games. I think it was the first to put in breaking point submission, I believe. It also had a story editor, which was awesome. I remember I made a bunch of stories or whatever, kind of like depicting storylines, and I would have my own champions, and it was a really fun game. It was a really fun game, and, you know, I enjoyed it a lot. I still have the game, and I haven't played it for a while, but it's a very good game. I enjoy it. I enjoyed playing it, and it was the second to last game before WWE SmackDown vs. Raw ended up turning into the WWE brand, and in my opinion, it was pretty much the final SmackDown vs. Raw game, because 2011 was not very good. You know, its graphics were smooth, its new additions to the game were very smooth, and, you know, I'm tired, so I'm not talking as much as I would have hoped. But all in all, it was a great game. Its roster was pretty well put together. First to feature, you know, superstar thread editing, added a lot in entrance maker and in create a wrestler. It's from at that point, its new Titantron movie maker or whatever was very interesting. Was very cool. What else was there? Well, I know they had a lot of edits. I know that My WWE was added, where you can customize whether a face or a heel, well, booed or cheered. You can customize their attributes or whatever. It was a really cool game. I really enjoyed it, and I've been meaning to play it for a while, but I haven't really gotten into it, you know, in a while. So, but anyway, that's that. So one more time running down the list. Number 7, SmackDown vs. Raw, or SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain. Number 6, SmackDown vs. Raw 2008. Number 5, SmackDown vs. Raw 2006. Number 4, WWE SmackDown, Shut Your Mouth. Number 3, WWE 12. Number 2, SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. Number 1, SmackDown vs. Raw 2010. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching. If you're wondering, yes, there is one video game that will not be included in the best of the worst, meaning that they weren't one of the best, but they weren't one of the worst. So just look out for that game. Remember to go and do the contest. I'll leave the link in the description below. And that's that. Also, check out my previous video Time to change my YouTube name, question mark. Its decisions will also be down in the comments below, or I mean in the description box below. And I think for the first time in a while, I'll be putting up the USW website link in the description box below, and that's that. So remember, guys, thank you for watching. Remember to like, favorite, and subscribe for more. I'm ZackHardy signing off.